Pedro, nice to have you here today. We just met in Portugal not long ago. We discussed about the situation in the market. But before we go there, can you tell us a little bit more about Square Asset Management, your role, and what's the strategy at the moment?
Yeah, Square Asset Management is nowadays the leading regulated asset manager in Portugal. I'm the CEO. So we start from zero in 2005, and we have now about 1.8 billion euros under management without leverage. I would say the leading vehicle is an open fund that also is the biggest fund in Portugal. It's a fund that is 1.2 billion euros NAV without leverage, and is the fund that has more unit holders, retail clients. So we have more than 25,000 unit holders. And this fund has won the MSCI award over the last 13 years in a row as the highest return balanced portfolio. So it's a fund that invests in all sectors, and it's a very, I would say, plain vanilla in the sense that we invest in income, so all sectors giving yield. And I would say a little bit that the secret would be to diversify as much as we can, diversifying sectors, tenants, locations, maturity term contracts, etc., etc. We start investing in Spain as well. So we have nowadays around 100 million euros in Spain already invested, and we are seeing more opportunities. Then we have a second open fund that we launched 3 years ago that is sold on a digital bank, and this fund is reaching 50 million euros with around 2,000 unit holders. And finally, we have about 600 million euros in separate accounts from foreign investors that are investing in Portugal, and they subcontract our services instead of creating their own structure in different sectors as well.
Very interesting and impressive numbers. When it comes to attracting foreign investors to Spain and Portugal to deploy capital in your funds so you can bring the right returns, what is the scenario right now in those countries that makes you positive about things?
Well, I would say that unlikely wise what happened in the past, nowadays those Latin countries, Portugal and Spain, are within the ones that have the better macroeconomic figures comparing to the other European countries. So a part of Ireland, of course, it is a different tiger, and we don't even dare to compare with them. But after Ireland, so Portugal and Spain are the ones that are expected to have the highest GDP growth this year. Inflation is also lower than in Central and Eastern Europe, of course, a little bit due to war, but also in Ukraine, but also due to that, we are attracting companies that want to deviate from Eastern Europe to put their head office and industrial in Iberia, but also some other investors that are a little bit feared to invest in Central and Eastern Europe, and so they are investing in Portugal. Even, for example, it's a very interesting figure. There was a survey in US, and the country where Americans would like to live, the first country where Americans like to live out of US, the first one is Portugal. And I'm saying that is a little bit just the other way around what happened 500 years ago when Portuguese and Spanish went to Americas by boat. Now they are not arriving by boat, definitely, but when they came by plane, the first country in Europe is Portugal, and they like it, and so they stay. So a lot of cinema stars are buying houses in Portugal, and so on this, of course, balancing what is a little bit unbalanced nowadays is the lack of supply on the housing, because it's very easy. Portugal is a small country, so you have a lot of demand, and so the prices are rising, and there is a lack of offer.
Yeah, you mentioning the housing market. Is a very tough situation. I know the government is trying to pass some new legislation to incentivize developers, etc. But let's talk about asset classes in general. If you had to pick maybe one or two best asset classes now in Portugal, and maybe one that is your less favorite one, what would that be?
Well, of course, it depends a lot. That question is also a kind of normal question, but it depends a lot on the investment profile of it, if it is a developer or a final investor, etc., etc. But I would say that definitely because the demand is there either for individuals that wants to buy houses or for companies that want to install their headquarters or industrial, and tourism is still growing a lot. I would say that in an average basis, hotels and everything that is related to tourism and offices would be a very good bet. Because also one of the issues that we have, and I think it's all across Europe as well and US, it's bureaucracy to give new permits to construct. So there is I mean, if demand is rising, there is bureaucracy to have new permits, and there is lack of offer, then the prices are rising. So it's a good point, I would say, in hotels and offices.
Do you have anything in mind that would keep you up at night at the moment?
Well, we all. I've been used, and I'm getting older, so I've been used to have a lot of uncertainty in our lives. So Portugal, I was from the time where Portugal has a lot of issues and economic problems, etc. I'm not saying that today we don't have, but comparing to what I lived already, I never expect to live where, for example, Portuguese yields are below the Spanish, French, Italian, and UK. So I think the new generation has in an average base, has a very bright future because the public accounts are much better than they used to be.
Thank you very much for your support and your partnership.
Thank you very much.